Hello, my name is Farichar, and with the producer Hector Salas, we are going to be your guides in this virtual experience at the European Southern Observatory or ESO. So this will be a virtual tour for the La Silla Observatory. Okay, so this is an important experience, of course, because we can take the astronomy directly to your homes or wherever you are. So in the next hour, we are going to travel to the region of Coquimbo in northern Chile, and we are going to virtually visit the ESO's La Silla Observatory, 2,400 meters above sea level. So just a little bit about me. I am one of the guides of Paraná Observatory actually for more than 10 years. Um, I am well very familiar with astronomy outreach and education, um, and I am also working for astronomy center in the University of Antofagasta. Um, and today, as I told you already, I am not alone. I am with the producer Hector Salas. So how are you, Hector?
Hi Farid, I'm happy to be here once again. So my name is Hector Salas. I'm a PhD student at the Leibniz Institute for Astrophysics in Potsdam, Germany. I work mostly with topics related to the circumgalactic medium, that is the environment that surrounds galaxies. And I have been a member of the guides for Paranormal Observatory since 2019. I started while I was doing my master's degree at the University of Antofagasta. And today, as Farid mentioned, I will be the producer. So I'm going to be changing the videos and pictures, but I will also be reading all your comments or questions. So please send them if you have any greetings, any questions, and we'll have some time to answer them. Um,
Okay, thank you very much, Hector. So yeah, please remember you can send all your questions or comments during all this streaming, and later we will have some time to answer to your questions at some specific times of this virtual experience. Okay, and also please don't forget to share this experience in case you like it with buttons of Facebook or YouTube. Okay, so we are going to start now, and the first thing I want to do is to talk a little bit about the organization, about the ESO, about the European Southern Observatory. So we are going to begin with picture to describe a little bit about member states, the countries involved in this big organization. So in this case, let's say that ESO is an intergovernmental organization composed by 16 member states. Its headquarters are in Germany, and in this case, Chile is the host state and is the home to all ESO observatories. Now, since the 60s, and with those objectives in mind, ESO chose one of the best places on the planet for astronomy. In this case, the Atacama Desert in Chile. At that time, Chile had started a site exploration campaign to attract international observatories such as ESO to our country. So Chile offered land, and ESO chose the area that seemed best for this purpose. Now, ESO's mission is to design, build, and operate astronomical observatories. And what for? To enable important scientific discoveries and foster cooperation in astronomy. Now we are going to look at another picture with the three observing sites of ESO in Chile. So first, we have the Paranal Observatory. This observatory is home to the Very Large Telescope, or VLT, currently the most advanced visible light telescope on Earth. In the future, Paranal Observatory will also host the Extremely Large Telescope, or ELT, and this will become the world's largest visible light telescope on Earth. And near there will be another important scientific facility that is called the CTA, This will be an array of telescopes for the detection of gamma rays. Then we have Chajnantor, the site of the ALMA and APEX radio telescopes. This place is a different kind of astronomy because it's radio astronomy, and ESO participates in these radio astronomical observatories with other international partners. And finally, we have La Silla Observatory. This is the site you will be visiting today. This was the first observatory built by ESO in Chile, 2,400 meters above sea level, in the region of Coquimbo. We will go there virtually during the next hour. So now let's travel to La Silla Observatory. We are going to show you an animation. So now we are looking at our planet, and we will start this journey by land in Europe. Because I have to mention that ESO is an European organization. On this map, outlined in white, we can see the different ESO member states. Now, Chile is the host country and home to all ESO observatories. So in order to see those places, the telescopes, we will travel to the Chilean mountain range. So as we move over the Atlantic Ocean, let me tell you a little bit more about ESO's mission. To give you an idea, ESO is trying to determine what type of instruments we need to study the universe. So after that, ESO will design all the machines or all the necessary facilities, and is going to operate the telescopes, responding to um, requests of observing time from scientists from different countries. And of course, this will allow to enable cooperation in astronomy for everyone. Now, we are almost there. We are now looking at La Silla Observatory. And in this case, you can, if you take a look at that mountain, you can see that the mountain has a very distinctive shape. It looks like a horse saddle. Okay, so in fact, the mountain itself and the observatory later were named after a saddle for horse riding. Okay, so that's why we call this place La Silla Observatory. Okay, now a little bit more about La Silla. Over the years, this observatory has become the perfect viewpoint to study the universe. It was chosen by the astronomical community as an observational site, and this happened at the beginning of the 60s. Now, La Silla enjoys a large number of clear nights per year with very dry atmosphere and dark skies, of course, far away from artificial light sources. I mean, light pollution. Um, Now, this observatory was officially inaugurated in 1969, and some of the telescopes that we have in La Silla are now out of service. We are going to visit La Silla with an, let's say, a virtual, yeah, this is like a drone uh, video. So we can see here the different telescopes that are part of La Silla Observatory, but not all of them are working right now. Currently, we have 10 telescopes operating, and two of them are operated directly by ESO. The other telescopes, several of which are robotic, they belong to other institutions, and ESO is providing the facilities and support. So, in order to start this journey in La Silla, we are going to visit first the last telescope, I mean the biggest telescope of this observatory, and the biggest telescope here is the 3.6 meter. Okay, we are approaching the 3.6 meter telescope at the end of this uh, fly over the mountain. And in this case, we are going to start with this one, with the 3.6-meter telescope, because this was the first in terms of chronological order of inauguration. So we are going to visit this place in a few moments. And from this perspective now, because now we can see the mountain, this is the 3.6. Um, I am rotating the view to show you that those are the telescopes that are also in La Silla Observatory. This is the NTT. We are going to visit the NTT later. This is the New Technology Telescope, and this is another very important telescope in La Silla. And I want to take the opportunity to show you a general overview of the landscape because we are in the middle of the Atacama Desert. So we have a very nice panorama from here. We have the mountains. In this picture, we have the sunset, as you can see. Um, I will show you the rest of the panorama. This facility is called CEST. This was a former radio telescope. Now it's not working anymore, but some components of this old radio telescope was transferred to the Antofagasta region in Chile. So basically, the components of this old radio telescope basically was um, transferred to Antofagasta in order to do some tests and other kinds of work with Apex radio telescope because this was a prototype of the ALMA radio telescope. Okay, and this is a view of the Andes Mountains. We are looking at the east in this view, and we are going to come back to show you the 3.6-meter telescope. So, as I told you already, this was the first telescope inaugurated in this big facility. So now we are going to visit this place to show you what happens here. So, okay, we are inside of the 3.6-meter telescope. So you can see it's very, very big. And in this telescope, you can see that everything looks like, well, this is a big telescope, and the surroundings, you can see the dome. You can see that this dome is also huge. It's a big, big dome. I can show you the different perspectives here. And so basically to give you an overview of this place, all this dome, all this building, okay, is about 25 meters high. Um, and all the telescope structure is equal to a 7-story building. So it's big, of course, and it's pretty high. And in order to show you how big is this telescope, well, in this picture, we have a person, and I will show you this person. I will do a close-up. So you can see the person here, and now you can have an idea of how big is all this structure, right? So in order to show you how this telescope, I mean, the different components of this telescope, I will show you a picture. The picture will appear in the right, and this picture will show you different parts, components of the telescope, so you can understand better what happens here. So, for example, in dark blue, this area in dark blue, this is basically the structure supporting the telescope. So basically, this portion of the telescope is called the mounting. The mounting works as a huge arm supporting the telescope and includes several systems to provide power, such as electricity. On this arm, and parallel to the Earth rotation axis, the telescope moves to follow objects in the sky during the observations. Now, if we move to this portion, this area here, in lighter blue, we have the telescope's body. So this telescope's body is holding the 3.6 meter or 360 centimeters mirror, main mirror, and the secondary mirror. So where is the main mirror? The main mirror is not visible now because it's covered by its protection system. So this black structure. This is a system of tabs that can be opened or closed to protect the mirror from dust or moisture when the telescope is resting. It's like in the parking position. Okay, so in the black tubular structure, in the upper part, I mean here, we have the secondary mirror. The secondary mirror will collect light coming from the main mirror because you need to understand that the first thing happening here is that the light coming from the stars is going to the primary mirror, and the primary mirror is a concave mirror, is a curve. So this mirror will concentrate the light, will reflect this light to the secondary mirror. The secondary mirror will reflect the light again, and this light is going to pass through this curve to the primary mirror. So this is what happens in order to receive the light in the main instrument. And where is the instrument? Well, the instrument in this case is a very uh, complex instrument called HARPS. HARPS is an exoplanet hunter. It's basically an instrument that is dedicated to find exoplanets in a very clever way. So this instrument is not visible now because it's completely isolated in another room on another floor of this building. Now, the 360 or the 3.6 meter telescope began operations in 1977, and from the beginning, it represented a challenge for engineering and for ESO as an organization. European astronomy uh, was just starting to collect, um, you know, talents, people to build an optical telescope in the 4-meter category. So this was the largest and most advanced category at that time. Now, why was such a large telescope needed? Well, in astronomy, objects are analyzed through its light. The more light we collect, the more we can learn. In this case, a bigger mirror will capture more light, and therefore, more information will be available. We will be able to see fainter objects and smaller details. Now, how do you think this big telescope moves? Well, we can show you a short video so you can see how the telescope moves. Okay, so of course it's very, very impressive. Well, a mirror for astronomy is not just any mirror because its shape and surface must be perfect at the scale of fractions of thousands of millimeters. So to achieve this, in the 1970s, an extremely thick mirror was manufactured, and this mirror has 53 centimeters thick on average. But this also implies an extremely heavy mirror. So the weight of this mirror is 11 tons. This is the equivalent of 2 African elephants. So if we want to build larger telescopes, we need to find other solutions. So how was the next step taken? We will see it later, with the NTT. Okay, so this was the general explanation about 3.6 meter telescope. So our next stop will be the NTT. So we are going to go outside, and the NTT is that telescope over there. But before going there, maybe we'll have some time to answer some questions. So, Hector?
Yeah, Farid, we have several greetings from our viewers. We have MD Asadur Saman. Totally butchered the pronunciation, sorry about that. He's wishing us good luck. We have Dania greeting us from República Dominicana, from the Dominican Republic. Stefan Keller from Germany. Hello. We have Andrew Cowley saying hi from the UK. We have also Jose Maria, viewer that usually comes to these tours, which is a good time. And also from Bon Dia from Helio Santos. And we have a couple of questions. So one is from Halim Magius. He's asking us about the E3 Atlas, I3 Atlas. So
Uh-huh. Well, I don't
okay,
know what is the question exactly, but yeah,
I did
I
a
know
quick
that this.
search, and I3 Atlas is a comet that is
Yes,
supposed to be the third object to come from outside our solar system to be detected.
yes, exactly, exactly. So it's basically an interstellar object that is not original from the solar system, but is coming from far away, and because of this nature, is well, of course, uh, interesting. Is like something strange, but it's also a very good opportunity to try to study this object, because basically this object can be extremely, extremely old. And yeah, probably it's a good chance to try to do some kind of studies. But this is the main feature of this object, and there is nothing so I don't know, supernatural about it. Uh, so I don't know, Hector, if you know something else about this object that we can share.
Uh, Not really. I mean, so far I only know that this is the third of this kind that we have detected so far, and these subjects are very interesting in themselves. Like as in astronomers, they have always speculated about the possibility of comets or even wandering planets or stars possibly getting closer to us at some point. So yeah, they're interesting, but I don't know if there is anything other than that is particularly special about this subject, or if there is any dedicated effort to investigate it in some particular way. So I don't really have any more info about it.
Okay, okay.
And a second question that we have from Dania is when cubes will be operational.
Well, cubes, as far as I know, is an instrument that is not in La Silla. It's intended for Paranal Observatory, and I know that this is an instrument in the first stage of construction, and as far as I know, it should be ready in before the end of this decade, but it's not
Yeah,
ready now. But the
yeah,
important thing is it's not for La Silla, it's for Paraná.
mhm. Yeah. But I did a quick look around, and the expected year of with that will start functioning is 2030.
Okay,
So 2029 is supposed to be like the first test, maybe first light, but it's supposed to be 2030 functioning. But other than that, I couldn't find any more new information in any updates, so this will give us a bit an idea of when. We have a question here from Paula. Uh, what is the observed highest height redshift, and which is the object?
I as far as I know, object with highest redshift observed from La Silla is some kind of object with redshift about 4 or something like that, um, observed a long time ago. And from Paranal is some object with redshift 8 or 8.2 or something like that. I cannot recall the year, but when we talk about objects with high redshift, we are basically talking about objects that are extremely far away. So, for example, okay, and if my information is correct about this object from Paranal with redshift 8.2, or maybe you know another one with higher redshift, I don't know, maybe you can tell
Yes.
a
So
little bit more about what is the expected
yes. So
distance or
the
something like that.
information that I have at the top of my head that could be wrong is that Paranal used to have the record for the highest redshift until
Mhm.
James Webb, and James Webb
Oh.
found redshift like objects like redshift 13. Like every couple of months or so, there is a new paper saying, or with data from James Webb, claims that they found the farthest object with the highest redshift. So this has been changing a lot since we have data from James Webb. And usually the objects that are very far away, like this, that we can observe, they tend to be quasars, or some type of AGN. So a galaxy that has a supermassive black hole in their center that is accreting material and then becomes very bright, more bright than the entire galaxy. So we can see them from very far distances. And another thing that happened with James Webb is that when we started to find objects at higher and higher redshift, we started to find galaxies that were created with a large number of stars, let's say, earlier than we thought that they should be already having that many stars. So this will have been changing this. So I hope this answers a bit of the question from Paula.
Okay.
Okay, and
Anything else, or should I
okay,
continue?
let's go with the last question for now. So we have from Stephen Keller, with a background in aerospace engineering and astrobiology. What skill do you value most for work at La Silla or at ESO?
Well, the main thing I can tell in general terms is that in an observatory, any observatory, you can find more engineers than astronomers because telescopes are, after all, very complex, big and complex machines. So in Panama, for example, you can find engineers like electronics, informatics, mechanical engineers, optomechanical engineers. So uh, these are the kind of engineers that you can find there. Now, I really cannot say if aerospace or astrobiology is uh, like I don't know, a good background for an observatory. I think it depends on the observatory, but I can say that electronics, informatics, as I say, mechanical engineers, optical engineers are usually the most usual stuff because you need to usually pay attention or basically work on the instruments of each telescope. And you need to do some maintenance, you need to do calibrations, fixing problems, and maybe you need to create or fix specific pieces of the instrument or the telescope. So this is the usual background. But in any case, the ESO website has a special website, I mean, a special section dedicated for recruitment. So you can find the usual background in case of any new position is opened.
Yeah,
Okay.
and just to complement a bit your answer, Farid, for the case of people that are working in the science, like astronomers, not there are ESO fellowships for astronomers, and with a background in, let's say, astrobiology, you could try to look for uh, someone that is looking for fellows in that particular area, so someone that, for instance, is working with exoplanets or the like. And these people usually they don't really work at the observatory. They work at the ESO headquarters, either in Chile in Vitacura or in Germany in Garching. And the ones that are in Chile, they are expected to go a couple of times to the observatory and help with the runs at the observations during nights. So there's also the possibility of going as an astronomer. But you're actually not at the observatory 24/7, let's say. I think with that, I think it's time for us to continue the tour, and we will have another round of questions later on.
Okay, thank you very much, Hector. So yeah, we are going to continue, and the next stop is the NTT. The NTT is important. Well, the NTT is this telescope there because you have some differences when you look at the domes. Okay, well, right now we can see this dome from the distance, but you can see that this dome is different if you compare with this one. So this is important because the NTT dome is also smaller if you compare with this dome. And it happens that this telescope, the 3.6 meter, is very similar to the telescope, the mirror inside of the NTT. So we are going to talk more about this in a few moments. So we are going to enter the NTT, and I want to tell you that the NTT was inaugurated in 1989. So it has a small and very compact octagonal dome with a system of flaps. So now I have the main screen to show you the NTT, the New Technology Telescope, and from this screen you can also see the dome. So the dome, you need to try to imagine that this dome is like it has an octagonal shape, and it has a system of flaps. So basically, uh, this represented in its days an evolutionary leap in the construction of telescopes, since it allowed hosting instruments in a smaller and lighter structures with improved airflow on the inside. So basically, the classical domes, such as the 3.6 meter telescope, now is basically obsolete. So now we are basically working with more efficient, with more compact domes. Now, in the NTT, from this perspective, if you remember the structure of the 360 or 3.6 meter telescope, well, this building, the building of the of the NTT telescope, is basically attached, is part of the telescope. So basically, when the telescope is moving to any part of the sky, the dome is also moving because the dome is part of the structure of the telescope. Okay. Now, in this case, also, as I told you already, this dome is more compact. So this telescope, you can see that it looks smaller, but but the mirror is actually very, very similar to the 3.6 meter telescope. So in this telescope, if you are inside, if you are here, a, a person standing just in front of the telescope will have like something like this size. Okay, so you have a door here, so you can imagine the size of a person if you compare with the telescope. So in this case, everything looks more compact. Okay, everything looks smaller, um, but still the mirror of the NTT is actually very similar to the 3.6, because I will do a close up. This mirror is the mirror of the NTT, and this mirror has 3.58 meters. Okay, so it's very, very similar. And in addition, is thinner, is is a slim mirror, let's say, because this mirror is only 24 centimeters thick. Okay, so it's basically around half or more than half the thickness of the 3.6 meter. Now, it's also much lighter, 6 tons. So this is something like the equivalent of just one elephant. So this mirror is also special because this mirror, in the same way like the 3.6 meter, is a concave mirror. It's like a spoon, okay? Because the mirror has to concentrate light and has to reflect this light into the secondary mirror and then again back, so the light can go to the instruments, okay? But the difference here is that just below the mirror, in this area, we have something else. We have a system of actuators or pistons below the mirror. And this is because we need to do something regarding um, the concave shape of the mirror. I mean, because the mirror is so heavy, when the telescope is pointing to a different portion or part of the sky, the mirror will suffer some deformations, distortions. So basically, will change the concave shape. And in order to preserve this concave shape, we have to compensate the distortion. And our way to compensate this distortion is with this kind of pistons that we call actuators. We have 75 actuators going up and down to keep the perfect shape, to compensate any distortion and to preserve the concave shape. This system is controlled by a computer, and we call this system active optics. So active optics was developed by ESO and represented a significant technological breakthrough in the construction of the next generation of telescopes in the 10-meter category. So active optics has been applied to all large modern telescopes, including the Very Large Telescope, or VLT, at Paranal Observatory, and will be also included in the upcoming Extremely Large Telescope, or ELT, that is currently being built near Paranal. Now, where is the staff? Where is the people, the scientists working at La Silla? Well, around 30 people are working in La Silla on different telescopes and doing different things. So the scientific and technical staff are working from the control room of La Silla Observatory, which is located in a building that is quite far from here. So they are not working exactly in this building, and they are not working exactly in the 3.6 meter building. They are working in a dedicated control room, and we have a short video, short time lapse to show you a regular night of operations from La Silla. Okay, so here we are. This is the control room at La Silla Observatory. As you can see, we have a couple of workstations. The workstation in the left is for the NTT, and the workstation in the right is for the 3.6 meters. So you can see that we don't need a lot of people. We need actually a telescope operator, a person in charge to move the telescope, and we need an astronomer sometimes. So they are basically working all night, and they are supervising all the operations. Okay, so this is what happens here. So this is basically what happens, and now at this point, you know a lot more about the observatory and the staff that is working here. But now I want to invite you to see the main scientific milestones obtained from all ESO observatories, that is La Silla, Paranal, and Chajnantor. So let's take a look, and we are going to explore the main scientific milestones from all ESO observatories.
Observations with ESO telescopes have led to many breakthroughs in astronomy and, over the years, have been responsible for some truly remarkable findings. Here is our list of ESO's top 10 astronomical discoveries so far. Astronomers using ESO's Very Large Telescope have discovered by far the brightest galaxy yet found in the early universe, and found strong evidence that examples of the first generation of stars lurk within it, stars that were previously only theoretical. These massive, brilliant objects were the creators of the first heavy elements in history, elements that are necessary to forge the stars we see around us today, the planets that orbit them, and life as we know it. ESO telescopes have provided definitive proof that long gamma-ray bursts are linked with the climatic explosions of massive stars, therefore solving an enduring mystery. A telescope at Silla was also able to observe the visible light from a short gamma-ray burst for the first time, showing that this family of objects most likely originates from colliding neutron stars. Astronomers using ESO's HARPS instrument in 2010 discovered a planetary system containing at least 5 planets orbiting the Sun-like star HD 10180. They also found evidence that 2 other planets may be present, one of which, if confirmed, would be among the lowest mass exoplanets ever found. Newer observations and reanalysis of the data suggest that there could be even more planets around this star. ESO's Very Large Telescope was used to detect carbon monoxide molecules in a remote galaxy, seen as it was 11 billion years ago, a feat that had remained elusive for 25 years. This allowed astronomers to obtain the most precise measurement of the cosmic temperature at such a remote epoch, and it matched the temperature predicted by the Big Bang theory. The atmosphere around a super-Earth exoplanet was analysed for the first time using the VLT. The planet, which is known as GJ1214b, was studied as it passed in front of its parent star, and some of the starlight filtered through the planet's atmosphere. The atmosphere was found to be either mostly water in the form of steam or dominated by thick clouds or haze. Using ESO's VLT, astronomers measured the age of the oldest star known in the Milky Way. At 13.2 billion years old, the star was born in the earliest era of star formation in the universe. Uranium was also detected in a Milky Way star and used as an independent estimate of the age of the galaxy. The VLT obtained the first ever image of a planet outside our solar system. The planet, which has a mass about 5 times that of Jupiter, orbits a failed star, a brown dwarf, at a distance of 55 times the average distance between the Earth and the Sun. In 2014, ALMA, the Atacama Large Millimeter Submillimeter Array, revealed remarkable details of a solar system that is forming. The images of HL Tauri were the sharpest ever made at sub-millimeter wavelengths. They show how forming planets are vacuuming up dust and gas in a protoplanetary disk. One of ESO's proudest moments came when 2 independent research teams, including ESO staff, arrived at a truly revolutionary finding: that the cosmos is not only expanding, but that it is doing so at an increasing rate. The findings of the separate teams were based on observations of exploding stars, or supernovae, including measurements made from ESO's telescopes at Silla and Paranal. This discovery was rewarded with the 2011 Nobel Prize in Physics. And finally, several of ESO's flagship telescopes were used in a 20-year study to obtain the most detailed view ever of the surroundings of the monster lurking at the heart of our galaxy, a supermassive black hole. Astronomy is always moving forwards, and ESO's top 10 scientific discoveries are not set in stone.
Okay, this was the top 10. This was, of course, very, very interesting. But we have something else. We have something like an extra result, like a bonus track. We are going to show you very quickly. In 2019, a team of astronomers were able to capture the first picture of a black hole. The Event Horizon Telescope, or EHT, an array of 8 ground-based telescopes distributed across the planet, coordinated by an international collaboration, achieved the first direct visual evidence of a supermassive black hole. This picture will reveal the black hole at the center of Messier 87, a massive galaxy in the nearby Virgo galaxy cluster. This black hole is 55 million light years from Earth and has a mass of 6.5 billion times that the mass of the Sun. So this was the picture. Okay, so now we are going to continue with something very interesting because we can do a quick virtual tour of the night sky from La Silla. So in this picture, you can see that we have a lot of stars. The sky is very, very nice, totally clear. So we are going to show you some interesting objects and features. So next to the entity, this is the entity from the outside, we have a constellation very near the horizon. We are going to do a close-up. This constellation is very popular for observers from this north and south hemisphere. So basically, this one is Orion. This is the Orion constellation. So Orion is very easy to recognize because you have 3 stars here that are more or less aligned. So in the mythology, this constellation represents a hunter. Okay, and this hunter, in the shape of this hunter, the 3 stars here, somewhat aligned, are representing the Orion's belt. Okay, so this is basically Orion's belt, but in some cultures, especially in Chile and other Latin American countries, these are recognized like the Tres Marias or Three Marys. So this is very easy to recognize and to identify. And next to the Three Marys or the Orion's belt, you have another interesting object. We have this nebula here. This is the Great Orion's Nebula. So in this place, this is a very bright nebula, and this is basically a star forming region. So new stars are forming here. And this is very interesting, of course, and it's a very popular object for amateur astronomers because it's very bright. You can even see the nebula with your naked eye. But of course, you can also observe this object with binoculars or even small telescopes. So this is important, and that's why we are talking about Orion today. Now, if we go up a little bit, we will find the brightest star in the sky, this one. What is this? This star is called Sirius. So Sirius is a star that belongs to another constellation that is called Canis Major. And Canis Major is, in the mythology, one of the hunting dogs of Orion. So basically, the constellation that is here, Canis Major, and Sirius, as the brightest star of this constellation and as the brightest star in the sky, is connected in the mythology to Orion. Okay, so this is an important feature of Sirius. So now we are going to pay attention to something. Orion and Sirius, you see, this area in general, you can find a lot of stars. Actually, like a more concentration of stars if you compare with other parts of the sky. So this area here is actually one of the arms of the Milky Way. So the Milky Way is our galaxy, is our cosmic neighborhood. So in this particular picture, you can see that that this arm of the Milky Way has a lot of other features, such as dark clouds of gas and dust, and other interesting nebulas with some distinctive reddish tone that is mostly because of the presence of hydrogen. So this is a very common sight from La Silla because this picture in particular um, is basically showing this part of the Milky Way. But if we jump to the other side, you can see a part of the center of the Milky Way. Okay, because in the southern hemisphere, you can see also the center of the Milky Way, and you can see completely over you, mostly during winter months. Okay, but I am going to talk more about this in a moment. I want to show you very quickly that in this area of the sky, we have something that look like clouds. So this couple of strange objects are actually galaxies. They are irregular galaxies, and we call them the Magellanic Clouds. So why we call them like that? Because the first person who was able to officially record this site was Ferdinand Magellan during its circumnavigation of the planet in the 16th century. So for him, these uh, fissures in the sky appear like clouds. But now we know that they are galaxies. They are satellite galaxies of the Milky Way. So this is the situation with these objects, and also important, those objects are only visible from the southern hemisphere. So you cannot see these objects from Europe or from Canada or Norway or these kind of countries in the northern hemisphere because this is exclusive from the southern latitudes. Now, if we continue moving, as I told you before, we have um, the 3.6-meter telescope again, and we have the center of the Milky Way emerging, rising from from the horizon. So, as you can see, the center of the Milky Way is, of course, a very bright area. Is a wide area of the sky with a lot of dust and gas clouds. And as I told you before, during winter months in the southern hemisphere, like May, June, July, this portion of the Milky Way appears um, just above you. So you can see all the Milky Way in the sky from the southern hemisphere in winter months. And this is also exclusive, let's say, of this kind of latitudes because from the northern hemisphere you can see only let's say 3/4 of the Milky Way or something like that, but you cannot see the center of the Milky Way in the zenith. So that's the main difference. Okay, now we are approaching to the end of this virtual tour, so I want to show you something from here. Let me take a look. Okay, so this is another perspective of the 3.6-meter telescope. You can see again the beautiful sky, but also you can see that in addition to the bright sky, you have also light pollution in the background. You see, uh, light pollution from nearby small towns, but also light pollution from La Serena there. So even if this light pollution is not affecting the observatory in a major way, it's a problem for astronomy in general, and we are trying to keep this problem under control at least, in order to preserve the night skies, because this is the most important resource in northern Chile. Okay, and from this perspective, from this panorama, we have another link here to show you La Silla Road at night. So basically, this is a picture that is showing you the different telescopes of La Silla, and this kind of road. You see, we have a road connecting all the telescopes. Okay, in the mountaintop. So at the end, you have of course um, the 3.6, the NTT, etc. Here we have the other telescopes, the smaller ones, and finally, this road is connecting all these facilities with the hotel, with La Silla Hotel. So we are going to finish there to show you the place where the astronomers and the scientists are resting, because this is like a mini city, let's say, with not a lot of people, but of course they need a place to rest. Okay, they need a place to sleep, to eat, and this is La Silla Hotel. This person here is the photographer who was in charge of all the pictures you saw today in this virtual tour. And you see, this is the hotel here. It's a very nice place. And from this picture, for example, I can show you that the Milky Way, the center of the Milky Way, appears in the zenith. So this is an impressive view, and that's why many astrophotographers, many amateur astronomers are coming to the north of Chile to, I don't know, to take an astronomy tour or take pictures or and so on. Okay, so this is basically the explanation here. So maybe we have limited time in case we have one last question from the virtual visitors. Hector?
Uh, we have some more greetings. So we have Jose from Bellevue, Florida. We have Sway Graven. She's watching us from Amsterdam. Upendra from Bangladesh. Claudio from Milan. And Fernando from Brazil. And we have a last question here. Do you also do SETI research?
Uh, well, no, the short answer is no. uh, I mean, the SETI research is, as far as I know, is most something that is for radio astronomy facilities. In this case, ESO has an association, is a partner of the ALMA radio telescope, the ALMA Observatory, but ALMA is not involved in SETI research. So this is more like, yeah, I know it's an investigation to look for signals from potential other civilizations. But the ESO, in terms of the ESO facilities, in this case, a radio telescope, in this case, ALMA, no, ALMA is not participating, and the CIA is not doing also this kind of research.
All right. Thank you for it. And before we say goodbye, maybe you can tell our audience how can they visit the observatory in person if they ever have the opportunity to go to Chile.
Yeah, sure. La Silla and Paranal are observatories that are open to visit on weekends, especially on Saturdays only for Paranal. But La Silla has some periods when it's possible to visit on Saturdays and Sundays. So, in order to know all the information about this, you need to visit the ESO website. This is at eso.org. And in this website, you can find a specific section about the public visit a program. So you can find all the instructions, but basically you need to do an online booking in advance, at least 2 weeks in advance, if possible, because the spots, we have limited spots. And basically the visit is guide tour during the day to show you the facilities. So the main requirement is that you need to arrive with your own vehicle, but the visit is completely free. So you can visit the ESO website, the official ESO website, and try to make an online booking if you are interested in visiting both observatories, and visits are in Spanish or English.
All right, thank you, Farid. I think it's time to say our goodbyes. Please keep an eye when the next tour is going to be, whether it's going to be in Spanish or English, or from La Silla Observatory or Panama Observatory. And please share this with everybody that you know that might be interested. Without anything else to say, I say goodbye to you, and please have a pleasant evening.
Okay, thank you very much. Please stay in touch. Keep looking at the ESO social networks. And from my side, also, I want to say goodbye and thank you very much for your virtual attendance. So goodbye.